So, if people want to say he's a charlatan, I'd say, well, okay, I don't think so, because I firmly believe in what I'm doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't continue.
What do you think about the fact that in the teaching world, knowledge becomes coveted, it becomes ingrained, it becomes inflexible, it becomes dogma, and then the people who have it become religious about it and don't let in other inputs?
I think that's terrible. I think it's terrible. In other words, when I go around to speak at Rotary clubs or anything like that, I show them exactly how I do the long-range forecast. I show them. And if they're interested, that's great. I show them how the moon influences the weather, how the certain planets influence, and so forth. And, it wouldn't affect you what's coming up in March, but I have a very big storm forecast for March 19th on the East Coast. It could be a blizzard. And so I have that. In fact, I was listening to a big station down in New York City, and the mayor of New York City was talking to the host of the show, and he said, and Jim Witt's predicting a big snowstorm along the East Coast on March 19th. So it's in New York City that they're talking about this.
Wow.
So I've kind of spread it. I said, here it is. If you want to know how to do it, I'll show you. I'm not hiding anything.
I want to clarify something. So these calendars show the weather. Is it just in your area or all over the U.S.?
Well, I could do it all over the U.S., but I only do it for the Northeast now, from, let's say, Washington up in Maine, where I do broadcasting. I don't do it for the whole United States because people don't know me anywhere else, only where they got a reputation in the Northeast where people want to buy the calendar.
Well, what if people knew that you would do it for them for their area for the year? And how many would you need per state? Let's say California wanted to know. The reason I'm asking you this is that farmers, when you're talking about growing food and water resources and all that, I really think that this is becoming more and more important for planning.
Yep.
And I think that more people are going to want to know. So you may know the answer to this, or you may need to think about it and get back to us. But how many people would you need to be ordering the calendar in a state to be worth doing it?
You'd have to look. In other words, what I do here in the Northeast, I do a very pretty calendar. You saw some of the pictures on the web page, perhaps the bright colors, and it doesn't cost me that much to produce the calendar because I do 20-some-odd thousand a year. But if you only did, let's say, 1,000, the calendar would be so expensive to print that it would be crazy.
So could we say it would be 20,000 a state?
Well, you could, but there's another way of doing it.
Okay.
You could do it by the Internet. In other words, there could be a web page.
Oh, you mean like print on demand?
Sure, people could go and, I haven't even thought about that, but you could say, all right, I want, the Gulf states, or, even you could even do it by state. It's not that extremely difficult. It would be time consuming. I would certainly need assistance to do that.
Sure.
But, it's possible. Very possible.
I think it would help a lot of people for planning, and also, again, aside from synthetic weathering activities, there wouldn't be such surprise. We wouldn't be at the mercy of the guys and gals on television telling us what they think is going to happen in the next week or two. But you could have a forbearance with this and also a receptivity deeper into the future for planning purposes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, even in New York City, a large city like it is, many of the meteorologists, quote, that are on television are not meteorologists. Maybe they were doing acting or something in Florida, and they were good looking, and so they brought them up to do weather in New York. It's unfortunate, but some meteorologists can't get a job because pretty faces take their positions, if you get what I'm saying.
I do.
Yeah. So some of the weather that you get is not really even that accurate because they really don't know the nuances of weather. So that hurts.
I have another question. I want to go back to the lunar and solar cycles for just a minute. On your page on methodology at theweatherwiz.com, Under lunar and solar cycles, you say, doesn't the sun spew out charged particles that are captured by the Earth's atmosphere? Could these charged particles in any way affect the jet stream, storm development, and storm movement? Could the sun, with its changing length of sunspot cycle, control temperatures around the Earth? And then you say short sunspot cycles less than 11 years can induce a warmer climate, while longer cycles, 12 or even 13 years, can result in a cooler climate. This stuff is all interrelated. And when you were teaching space weather, weren't there some key drivers in how the weather of space impacts the weather that we're experiencing here that you can talk about? We talked about sunspot activity. Is there anything else?
Well, I deal mostly with the moon, sun, and planets. I don't know if other things in space really affect. It's not that I would say they don't. I just don't know about it. I'll give you an example. All right, when the moon is very close to the Earth, they call that perigee, and when it is full and in perigee, it has a certain force to it. You add one more thing to it and have it on the celestial equator. In other words, if you extend the equator of the Earth out into space, that's the celestial equator. So you have full moon in perigee and on the celestial equator, and I've done this during the fall months, and at a 44 times that has happened, we have had a major storm along the East Coast 42 times.
Wow.
So is that chance? And March 19th is another one of those days, and it's going to be in super perigee, very close, and it's going to be in March. Now, I haven't played around with stuff in March month much, but I'll tell you this. The last time it happened where we had a super perigee was March 8th, 1993, and we had the blizzard of 1993 on that day.
Wow.
Just coincidence, of course.
No, this is patterned. You have noticed the patterns with the planets as it relates to here. The whole celestial system is involved in your long-range weather forecasting.
That's why I say I wouldn't be so silly to keep on doing this if I didn't see results. The results are phenomenal, and I just write them down. And the people, like in the back of the calendar, I have Mother Nature's coming attractions. And there I pick out significant storms that are going to occur in the Northeast through the year 2020.
Wow.
And people love that because if they're going to plan a wedding or something, I just tell them, don't pick one of these days. You got plenty of days to pick. Don't pick one of these. I only take about 10 a year, 10 or 12 a year. And I say, don't pick these days.
You've got to do this for other areas, Jim. You've
Well,
got to.
It's a matter of getting assistance to be able to do that. I would need some people. In other words, I can't do it alone.
I totally understand.
Yeah, I can't do it alone. And I have, to try and get a grant or something so you can hire people. The chances of getting a grant to study weather because of the planets, that would be ludicrous to even think it could be done.
How much do these calendars go for?
$8.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Oh, I do it very cheaply because if you bought a calendar like this in a bookstore or something like that, because it's color and great, really good quality, it would cost about $14.50 plus tax. Now, we get it because of the quantity. We can probably get these calendars printed for about $1 a calendar.
That's great.
And so when we sell them for $7 goes directly to the children. So it's a good, quote, business if you wanted to make money, but right now we just want to help kids.
That's really great.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. A lot of people say it's unusual to see a charity that just raises money to give it away. We have no administrative costs. work out of our houses, use our own phones, use our